This is one hell of a rebuild we got going on here, ain't it, Greer? All right, Dolphin fans. Well, the consequences of being in cap hell have begun. Not that any of this is a giant shock to our system, but as if it wasn't bad enough that we get the news earlier on today that Christian Wilkins signs a 4-year, $110 million deal with the Raiders. So $27 million a year when we could have tagged him for about 21. But Robert Hunt just 5 years, $100 million to play with the Panthers. And speaking of the Panthers, that's why I haven't had a lot of content on this channel, because as you guys know, I have the hockey channel, and it was the trade deadline over in the NHL. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, do I wish that Bill Zito could run the Dolphins as well. Because now I am not suggesting that we should have paid Christian Wilkins $27 million. No, well, that's a fair price for his services under most people's opinion. I still would have liked to see us tag him, make him play, get another year out of him, or work a deal to have him traded. And then, of course, Robert Hunt. Now, to say that I'm frustrated and disappointed is an understatement. We are in the end of a rebuild. The end of a rebuild. That's where we are. And are we going to end up having to do this all over again? Because while it's great, some of the moves that Greer has made, the amount of draft capital that we had, well, it don't really do us a lot of good. As soon as these guys become good, we can't afford to sign any of them because Greer is horrible at managing the rest of the team in the cap. Now, I know that some of this is because we're going to end up paying Tua, which is an entirely different situation, argument. I can't talk because I'm just so damn frustrated at this. The way that he is structuring this team, I don't know that I'm wrong for feeling like I think they might have already peaked, because when you use your draft capital to take players at positions that, defensive tackle, linebacker, offensive line, okay, these are the core, the core positions that you need to be good at, especially down the middle. And then you can't afford to sign any of them, or you end up releasing them like Baker, and you lose Hunt and you lose Wilkins. Well, now we're in the position of having no draft capital to replace the guys that are leaving. And, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm kind of jaded because, as you can tell from the white, this team has been doing this to me for a long time. But I did have hope with, as bad as we were, and then you do the Tunsil deal, and we have had some modicum of success. But all of that, all of the draft capital, all of the trades, all of the money spent, and we don't even have a playoff win to show for it, let alone being ready to be anything close to competing with Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, come playoff time, among other teams. So the frustration at this point now is that you take what last year's team was, and it wasn't good enough to even finish off the division when we had a 3-game lead. It wasn't good enough to really be very competitive against the Chiefs in the playoffs. And now we're just losing pieces left and right. We have no real draft capital to replace most of these guys. Christian Wilkins, he is everything you would want for the most part in a defensive tackle. Hunt, we held on to him, we developed him, we stuck with him when everybody wasn't really sure if he was going to work out or not. And now And now the Panthers get all the benefit of all of that. So where's the hope? I guess that's the question for, there's the two sides of the Dolphin fan base. There's the jaded side like me, and then there's the eternally hopeful. So that is a legitimate question I have for those of you who are legitimately always perpetually hopeful. Paint me the picture. Sell me why I should have hope that this team is going to somehow be better next year. Or are we just waiting again? Are we going to be looking at, giving Tua the long deal, and now we've got to rebuild the defensive line, the offensive? I mean, Armstead is coming back, but that's good for 8 games a year. We got to restructure his contract. We extended the punter. That's where we are at this point. We extended the punter. Now, I know that there will be some mid-range free agents that we pick up. I know at some point, either we're going to draft a guy, right? Defensive tackle. We need offensive line. We already needed offensive line help. This is just an absolute mess. And while I have not taken the time to intricately go through how we got into this mess, because I spend that kind of time and effort on the hockey channel, I think I'm going to have to take a look at exactly how did we get here. I mean, we know how we got here, but how did we get to the point where we're a team that has not won a playoff game, and we cannot afford to keep the guys that we drafted during the rebuild that has I can't talk. That has led us to this point. It is just depressing. I mean, we kind of already knew that something similar to these moves was going to happen, but just seeing it on paper, seeing the Raiders and Panthers are going to be the beneficiaries of the work and the draft capital that we put in with these guys is just depressing. So let me know in the comments, am I just old and jaded, or you guys feeling the same way I am, which is like, I hate to say I see a 6-win season coming, but, you take this along with the comments that we've seen Tyreek Hill make. I'm going to do a separate video on that when I get up to it. But, basically Tyreek talked about on a podcast, made some pretty disturbing comments about the actual dynamic in the offense between the quarterback and the wide receivers and everything. I'm not feeling it, guys. I hate to see this happen because we all had hope. And last year, especially, hope was we had peaked, right? This is a different Dolphin team. It's not the same. Tua has it figured out. We stuck with guys like Eichenberg, Hunt, and now just this brutal, this bad, man. I don't want to go through another rebuild. You could call it a retool or whatever you want, but it's just a bad look. You draft the guys, you can't afford to keep them. The ones that barely turned out to, it's not like we got a plethora of guys from all that draft capital. We got Tyreek. All right. Talk me into it. Tell me how we're still going to be good.